This video, brought to you by GHD-repair.co.uk, is going to show you how to replace the cable on a pair of Mark V GHD hair straighteners. So the first step is to make life easier for ourselves later. We want to mark this collar at the end so we know the correct orientation. So what I'm going to do is, using a permanent marker, I'm just going to put a little line on there in line with that crack in the plastic, and that'll help us later. The second step is to remove the hinge cap. So to do that, we get a flat bladed screwdriver and we insert the flat bladed screwdriver between the hinge cap and the straighteners. The hinge cap will then just pop off. If you do that for both sides, as I've done earlier, to reveal the screws. Right, the next step is to remove the hinge pin. So the easiest way to do that is to put the hair straighteners between your legs like this, and then use two cross-headed screwdrivers, one in each side, and then just unscrew the screws. So rotate anti-clockwise and keep unscrewing until on one side the screw will come out like that. You can then use one of your screwdrivers to push in through the hole which pushes the pin out the other side. With the straighteners back on the bench, the next thing we need to do is remove the collar at the back of the straighteners. So to do that, we get a flat bladed screwdriver and insert it in the gap between the collar and the straighteners and just twist. It then pings off and comes free. Now we need to separate out the straightener arms, and you'll see in there's a white collar. We just need to push that through with the flat bladed screwdriver again so that it comes out the other side. And then we can remove it. We can then get in and take out the metal spring, and they're starting to come apart. Next, we get a cross-headed screwdriver and undo the screws on the switch side arm cover. That's one. That's two. We can then remove the cover, and that comes off just like that. Then we want to remove the two screws from the back of the straighteners here, and here. That cover then just lifts off. You can now see the old cable socket and the cable. So next thing we do is we undo the two screws from the circuit board so that the cable socket can be removed. And then the cable socket is free. Now we just need to fit the new one. The next thing to do is to install the new cable socket. So the new cable socket is slightly different but is compatible with the old one. On the cable socket you'll see there's three plastic lugs that stick out. The middle lug wants to go downwards when inserted into the straighteners. So we insert that into the straighteners there. You'll notice that there's no lug sticking upwards. There's one at the side, one at on each side, and one at the bottom. The next thing to do is to screw the wires down. So we use the old PCB screws and screw it down like that. And like that. As you can see, this brown wire is slightly long, but that's not a problem. So then we route the brown wires inside out of the way and put the cable socket back in. Then we get our new cable, which looks like this. The cable plugs into the socket like so, and then fits neatly in there. Now, I've made the classic mistake. Before plugging the cable in, you need to put the collar on. So the collar goes on, and then it plugs into the socket. Like so. Now we put the lid back on, like that, and do the screws up. like that. Now you remember that black mark we put on the ring earlier? That helps us align it when we put it back on. So because I've got that black mark there, I should just be able to go clip, and it's on correctly. There we go. So next we want to put the arm cover back on. So we push both the switch and the switch on the cover into the off position, and then when they're like that, drop it back on top. We then get the screws and do the screws up. Like that. That's one. That's two. And now we need to put the hinge back. So the hinge goes in like that, with the lump downwards towards the switch side, and we put it in there, and then we take the plastic bit that we pushed out earlier and push it into the hole. It should align on both sides. If it can be easier if you put a screwdriver down there just to give it a bit of a wiggle until it aligns neatly. Then you need to make sure that the hinge is pushed downwards at the front, and then the other arm should just drop straight on the top like that. We then get it together and put the hinge pin in. If the hinge pin doesn't quite go, again put a screwdriver in there to align the two together, and then the hinge pin should just drop in nicely. On the other side, then we just use a screwdriver again to make everything sure everything's aligned, and then we can put the screw in like that. Again, for this job it might be easier to put it back between your legs to do the hinge pin back up. Then we just pop the hinge cover back on. GHD logo goes upwards when the switch is down. The final thing to do is to transfer the 13 amp plug adapter onto the new cable. So we open the plug adapter, we drop the cable in like that, make sure the metal contacts are nicely holding the end of the plug, close the lid, and then just do the screw up. Not too tight, just tight enough. There we go, done. So there you have it. That's how to replace the cable on a pair of Mark V GHD hair straighteners. If you've got any further questions or queries, please do drop us an email. You can contact us via our website at ghd-repair.co.uk, and if you need any spare parts, we've got an online shop where you'll be able to purchase whatever you might need.